I realized there are a lot of pen turning videos here on YouTube, but I had the camera handy and I was making some pens for a friend. This is a leftover piece of cherry from another project. We're going to make it a little bit different because we're going to use a pen kit and a pencil kit. So we're going to make a pair out of that chunk of cherry. Actually making 4 altogether, but only showing 2 in the video. So here's what you get in each kit. This is the pen kit. Get your tubes, get the clip for the pocket, the cap for the clip, the actual turning portion, a spacer, the end, and then the pen itself. For the pencil, to get the tubes, get the clip, the cap for the clip, which is open for the eraser, the spacer, then an end clip, the end, and then the pencil set itself. Here's some tools you'll need: a mandrel, spacers for a slimline pen kit, 7mm drill bit, and then some turning tools. And now I'll show you some optional tools, but highly recommended. Some finish, some sandpaper, a pen vise, and a pen press. And optional, you've got a reamer here. We're going to go to the bandsaw. There's our chunk of cherry, and we're going to square it up. So what I'm doing here is just getting the taller length and then just squaring it up, make it a little bit easier to turn. Here are the tubes. Notice they are 2 different sizes. The pen and pencil set are different size tubes. So we're going to move our fence and get it roughly the size of each tube. So we're starting out here, I believe, with the longer tube. We're going to cut our chunks. There you go. We just keep on cutting those. Then we'll move on to the other size tube, which I believe is the smaller. I don't recall what I started with. There you go. Definitely the smaller. We had to move it in. And we'll just cut all of our pieces because, again, I'm doing 4 but only showing 2 in the video. Now you want to go ahead and mark center. Now, I typically don't mark center, and I have a few reasons for that. One is it really doesn't matter as long as you're roughly center, but this is the main reason. I've got my vise set up to where it's dead center already. Got a little spacer in there. All I do is put it in my drill press stand, clamp it down, and then drill away. So I don't have to mark it. For pens, various sizes, bottle stoppers, any of that, it's already centered for me, so there's really no guesswork. Now, one of the tools I forgot to mention was some super glue. It'd be handy. You don't need the activator and you don't need the insertion tool, but they're handy to have. So we're going to start by putting the tube on the insertion tool and then sanding it down. I'm using 220, just fine. You just want to scuff it up so the sandpaper actually sticks on the inside of the blank. So just sand them up. There they are. See the difference? The top one's not, the bottom one is. Get some nice adhesion with that. Now go ahead and apply a liberal amount of CA. I get it all around, all sides. It'll get squeezed out, but that's fine. You do not want this coming out of the blank, trust me. When you go to turn it, it comes out of the blank, it's ruined. The tube, you have to get it out of there if you can. A lot of times it'll just spin in there, but it won't come out. There it is. And I'm going to do this for all the ones we're doing here. Just squeeze it in there. Putting a little bit of activator on there to speed up the process. Now we need to flatten each side. We want to flatten it until we can get that brass piece kind of shiny. That way we know it's flat and it's all the way against the tube. So you can use a sander like I'm doing here, or you can use that reaming tool, which we'll get to in a bit. But this sander, I absolutely love it. It's got the flat sanding like you're doing here, and it also has spindle sanding. It's a rigid, it's kind of expensive. I believe I have a link below to this model, so if you're interested, be sure to check that out. Next, we'll move to the method that I typically use, and that's with the reamer. I also have a link in the description below to this as well, I believe. This reams them and flattens the ends. The reamer portion is not necessary. It will make it a little bit easier to press them in, but I've never found the need for it. I just use it because I have it. Now we're going to install our mandrel onto our press. Now this is an adjustable mandrel. We're going to slide in our spacers. So one spacer, and then one pen blank, another spacer, and then the other pen blank, then one last spacer, and you can adjust this and actually use a screw knob. So that's where it's adjustable, and you would use this knob to press up against that last spacer. I do not typically use this method because I've got this end right here that I use. Put that in there, crank it down. I don't have to worry about it wobbling, doing anything like that. It's nice and secure. Go ahead and make sure everything's good and tight, and what I like to do is make the pen blanks kind of level with one another. It's not necessary, but as you're turning, as we are here, it makes it a little easier. Now I turn at about 2200 RPMs, and you'll notice I move the rest as close as I can get. And you'll want to turn these as fast as you're comfortable with. If you're not comfortable with 2200 RPMs, do not do that. What I like to do with these pen blanks, and it varies with everyone, is get them round, both of them round, and then I taper the ends as close to the spacers as I can get without actually touching them. So I get them kind of like a cone shape, and then I work on the middle afterward. Because that is the toughest part, in my opinion, is getting them as close as you possibly can without touching that spacer. And typically, if you do nick the spacer, it's not a big deal. Especially with these carbide tools, it really will just shave off a little bit of the spacer. It's not a huge deal, but I still try to avoid it. And typically, I nick it once or twice if I'm in a hurry. And these two pieces, I was a little bit of a hurry because I wanted to get them to my buddy the next day, so I did them kind of on a lunch break almost, basically. And that was about 20 minutes, so I did 2 pens and 2 pencils in about 25-30 minutes or so. That's what makes pen turning great for gifts. Once you get past the initial investment of the lathe and the mandrel, the reamer, those kind of things, it's cake. Blanks are cheap, you can find scrap, whatever you need to do, and they make great gifts, and people love them. You can sell them also. Now we're sanding them down. We're on the lowest setting that my lathe will go. Of course, I've got this sped up, and we're using our sandpaper. Now I'll have a link to that sandpaper in the description. It's awesome. We're going to apply some finish now. Now this is some homemade finish. If you search for, I believe it's Shine Juice, you'll find some YouTube videos on it. It's excellent. I really like it. It's cheap. It's easy to make. Basically, you mix 2 portions of liquid together and you're done. Now you do have to shake it up every time because it does separate, but that's fine. And after that, I let it run with a cloth and I just basically friction shine it. Once you're done, go ahead and take the pieces off the mandrel. And now we're ready to assemble. There they are. And we're going to start with our clip, which there's the clip. There's an end piece for the clip right here. Now, this will prove that you really don't necessarily need a press. You can just press it down and it's all the way in. I still like to put it on the press because I'm so used to using it. It does make it a lot easier. I'll also have a link to this press in the description below. It's awesome. I love it. And we'll go ahead and insert the pen mechanism, or actually the pen end, I should say. Again, I'll show you. You can press it down. You don't have to have this press. You can use a vise. That's what I did when I made my first couple. I just used a vise. But I found this press on sale, I think for $50. Couldn't pass it up. Now this is the mechanism, the turning mechanism that allows the pen to go in and out. There it is. And you want to get it to that line right there. If you go too far, kind of game over. You can't really go back out. So the best way to do it is just to press it in a little bit and keep checking it. Make sure it opens and closes as you would like. Now I just go right up to the line. I've never had a problem. I'm sure I will one day, but so far so good. There it is. Now here's the actual pen itself, or the insert rather. It just screws in like just about any other pen. Go ahead and thread it in there. You see there's all the way open. If we turn it, all the way closed. So at the line for my particular turnings has been perfect. Go ahead and put our spacer on, then we can drive it home. There is a completed pen in cherry. And these kits are available different colors. These are gold with black stripes. You can get silver, titanium, just about anything. Now moving on to the pencil kit. Again, we're going to start with the clip. We're going to put the end on the clip, which this one is open because this pen does have an eraser. There it is. It only really goes one way. You can press it on by hand. A little bit harder. but I'll still use the vise just because it's there, and that way I know it's in tight. We go ahead and put our end piece on. Now this actually threads into the insert, and then it keeps the tip on. Kind of hard to explain. Once you get one of these kits, you'll figure it out. Now this is the spacer. This is pretty tough to press in, but it can be done by hand. There you go. We started it. We'll finish it off with the press. This press has those little fingers, so it's completely adjustable real quick. Makes it real nice. There's the pencil insert. See, that just slips over there, but we'll thread the insert in and thread the end of it on, I should say. Make sure it's good and tight. Now this one you don't have to worry about a line to go to or anything like that. Putting the cap on for the eraser and the spacer, then we'll put the pen together, or pencil rather, and just make sure it works. Voila. Works like any other click pencil. The half hour it took to make these 2 sets is a small price to pay to make 2 young ladies happy. Be sure to check out the description below the video. I have Amazon affiliate links to all the tools I use and every tool that I use in this video. As always, thanks for watching.